What up, family? Welcome to the Living For You YouTube channel. It is your favorite cousin, your favorite uncle, your favorite brother, your best friend's best friend. It's me, Dr. Larry, and welcome to the Living For You YouTube channel. This is a place where we come to the table and we sit for the feast that I have prepared, and we have a wonderful discussion and dialogue and intelligent conversation about all types of different things, but mostly as it pertains to our well-being. Because you guys know that the most important thing you have are your health and your well-being, your mind as well. And so it is important that we come together and we engage each other's minds, we help each other to be healthy, we feed each other's spirit, and we become the best that we need to be. So I'd like to say welcome back to those who continue to come and sit with me. I love you guys so much. You're my family. That's why I say welcome, family. What's up, family? You guys look great. And I thank you guys for continually supporting us, and we're growing and we're getting bigger and we're getting more recognition. So I'd like to thank you guys for coming, liking, and subscribing to and sharing the videos. Those of you who are new, in case this is your first time ever seeing me on your screen, I am Dr. Larry Smith. I am a certified life and spiritual coach. I am a nearly 20-year educator, history educator. I am also a religious theologian. I have a PhD. My PhD is actually in comparative religion. So I come from the spiritual to the practical to the historical to all of that. And my business is Living For You Coaching. And you can go to www.liveforyoucoaching.com to get more information about that. But just so you know, I specialize, my personal specialization is helping people like me, African American males between the ages of 18 and 40, trying to deal with the trauma that they can't get over to live a very much more present life. And actually, we'll talk more about being present today in today's discussion together. And so that's what I do. So for those of you who are new, I want to welcome you to the family. I need you to go ahead and like the video, comment should you want to leave comments, subscribe to the channel so that you can keep up and you know what's going on, hit the notification bell so that you know when I release content. Generally it's 2 to 3 times a week. And we have wonderful series going on, things that are interesting and fascinating, knowledge-based, educated-based, but also from a practical, spiritual, just kind of down-home way. So, you know, my whole mantra is that I maintain my down-home ability, my southern charm, my homeboy mentality, while at the same time I do believe that I am an educated academic and someone who likes to think and read and learn and be scholarly at the same time. We don't have to just be one thing as black men. We can be so much more as black men. You can be street and book smart. You can be physical strong, but also very mentally strong. You can be out there in a real practical way, but also be spiritual. You don't just necessarily have to be one thing. You can be masculine and you can have a feminine, nurturing nature to yourself, and that is okay. That is okay. And a lot of times we don't realize that that is okay, but here there is no judgment. This is a space that is judgment-free. This is a space where you don't have to worry about who you are. You know, you just show up. Because in my mind and in this space, you're just present. So welcome. Hit the notification bell, subscribe, like the channel, share the videos, comment, leave suggestions. Let's talk. Let's communicate. Let's grow. This is what we're here for. So once again, welcome to the newcomers and welcome back to those of you who always come here every week and sit with me at this table. As you guys know, if you've been coming back, you know that we've been discussing on Mondays The Power of Now, which is Eckhart Tolle's groundbreaking book. And The Power of Now is a wonderful book, and I've said it many times before that it is a good book when I am thinking about something or when something's going on around me or when life is changing or there's so much going on. It's a great book to pull me right back to my beingness, to my center. And so that's kind of what this book is about. That's kind of what we've been discussing, how to not live in the past or in the future, but to focus and live on the present and to be more in touch with your being. And I want everybody to do that for just 1 second, right? Stop and breathe, right? Stop and breathe. Actually feel that oxygen flowing through your chest and in your body and through every orifice of your body, through your hands and your feet. Just exist. Just be in that moment. Be. Do we ever really generally do take opportunities to just stop and feel all of the aspects around? Smell your environment. Smell what's around you. Take a real wide look with bright vision of what's around you. Feel, touch your skin. feel it. Feel your being. We don't ever really do that because we're so preoccupied with our mind. And a lot of times we're too preoccupied with our mind, so much so that we identify with our mind, which is ego thinking. And in ego thinking, we tend to get into all kinds of trouble because what your mind does is your mind categorizes and labels and makes judgments and do all kinds of things, prejudices, and have all kinds of things. And if you identify with what your mind is telling you, then you are in a place of illusion that is not who you really are. And many times we get caught up in that. We fight each other over that. We create wars over mind identification, and it's a place that we need to really work on, and especially now in this moment with everything that is going on around us. And so that's what this book deals with. That's what we've been talking about. That's what we've been diving into. And so let's continue to dive into this particular week. We start chapter 2 because remember we've been dissecting the chapters, and last 3 videos we talked about chapter 1, and we really dived into self. We really dived into being and dived into identifying your mind and observing your mind and observing your emotions and the kind of the core, the foundation of these thoughts. Well, this time we'll talk a little bit more about pain, right? We're talking a little bit more about what causes pain, what causes us to have these sentiments of pain or these feelings of pain, emotions of pain that we must deal with, right? And you have to get to a place to where you're no longer creating pain in your present. And I know that sounds crazy, that sounds like a foreign concept, but hopefully, at least by the end of this video, and then when we get towards the end of this chapter, you have a full understanding of what creates pain in your life. Or should I say, who creates pain in your life, if you want to take it there. Pain is created in many forms, according to Eckhart Tolle, due to non-acceptance of what's going on, non-acceptance of the reality of what's happening in the moment or what has happened in the past, some form of unconscious resistance to what is, right? And it could be a conscious resistance too, but many times, most of the times, pain is created from an unconscious resistance to what is, some form of judgment on the level of thought about what is, some sort of judgment about it, and on the emotional level, some form of negativity. So let me repeat those things to you because I think it's important for us to understand that. Pain is created from some form of non-acceptance, some form of unconscious resistance to what is, some form of judgment about what is and what's going on and all of this on the level of thought. And then on the emotional level, pain is also created some form of negativity. So all of those things are things that occur to create pain in our lives. We don't tend to think of it on that level, but like I said, as we go forward, you're going to get more and more and more an understanding of what we mean when we say that. The level of pain you have, or should, as Eckhart Tolle call it, the intensity of pain that you have is actually the level of resistance that you have to what's happening what's happening with what's going on. Not just the level of resistance as to what you have, what's going on, but also the level and the intensity to which you are identified in the egoic state or identified with the mind. So the level of pain that you have is usually associated with the intensity of how you identify with your mind and the intensity of the resistance that you have to the present, to what's happening present. The more that you are able to accept and honor, as Eckhart Tolle says, the now moment, the more you'll be free from pain, suffering, and free from the egoic mind. Accepting it. Acceptance is the key. And like I said, we'll talk more about that because that is hard for us sometimes to accept, especially when, like, for example, we're sick or things are not going right or something has happened in our lives around us. It's a lot easier for us to try to resist it as opposed to accept what is. And Eckhart Tolle isn't the only writer and thinker that talks about this. People like Michael Bernard Beckwith, the spiritual leader at Agape Church, people like even T.D. Jakes and Joyce Myers, and even Byron Katie writes about this acceptance of the now, this acceptance of what's happening and occurring in our lives. That is a way to move beyond it, or what has occurred in the past. The acceptance of it is pretty much what we need to do, because our mind has this tendency to resist, right? It cannot function in a world where time doesn't exist. Our mind is preoccupied with moving forward and preoccupied with what happened behind us. That is how our minds are wired to exist in a consciousness, as Eckhart Tolle refers to it, of time. We are time conscious. And I tend to bring this up to my students a lot of time when I tell them that that is very much a strong ingrained Western ideology of being so conscious and preoccupied with the future and with the present and time in general. We're always looking at our watches, always looking at our clocks. And this is just something that we have to acknowledge. In fact, Eckhart Tolle says that the time and the mind are actually inseparable. They feed into one another. The mind feeds off on time. Can you even imagine an earth that doesn't have human life on it? Like, say if humans never were in existence on the earth. Would time even exist? Would the past and the present even exist if humans didn't exist on the earth? And if you think about it from a real conscious level, a deeper level, we're the ones who put dates on things. We created calendars, right? We have the BC time, which is before Common Era time. And we have the CE time, or the AD time, which is the Common Era that we're living in now. This year is 2020 CE, or 2020 AD. And so we're in this stage in which we consciously are aware of the past and the future. And me being a historian, obviously, I think about the past, and I write about the past, and I study and teach about the past. So the past has a relevancy to me as a historian. Not where I live, it's what I work with, if that makes sense. It's going to make sense that I work with the past. I don't live in the past. And so, but if humans didn't exist on the earth, time would be meaningless. I mean, if you think about a tree, do you actually think if you could actually hold a conversation with a tree, or a bird, or any kind of animal, or a rock, and they can communicate back to you, do you actually think if you asked them what time it was, they would be referring to anything as a time other than the present? Because they live in the moment. Trees shed their leaves in the fall. Trees lose all of them by the winter. But by the time spring and summer coming into, they're blooming right there in the moment. And they're not worried or concerned whether or not they're going to lose their trees again the next fall. And they're not worried or concerned how they lost their trees last winter and last fall. They're not concerned about that future and past mentality. Their concern is that in the fall, in the present, I'm losing my leaves. In the winter, they're all gone. By the spring and the summer, they're coming back into bloom. And I live on this present cycle continually in the present. The time would be meaningless without human existence. We need time. That is a human construct, a human function. But sometimes we become preoccupied, according to Eckhart Tolle, with our time consciousness. And that is what brings pain. That is what brings dysfunction. That is what brings sorrow. Memories, bad memories of something happening to you brings you a sorrow and brings you a pain. Anxiousness and worry and fear of the future is what brings you internal and bodily and mental and physical pain, right? It's this time consciousness, this overconsumption of time consciousness that creates pain in our lives as humans. And our mind seeks to always, according to Eckhart Tolle, because whenever it's his words, I want to give him credit to it. According to Eckhart Tolle, the mind always seeks to cover up the present. It's always concerned and preoccupied with the physical future and the physical past. That is what's there. And so what happens is, it is hard to focus on your true identity. It is hard to focus on your true self when there is a preoccupation in the future and in the past, and living blindingly or unconsciously preoccupied in your mind, in your thoughts, in your creation of the world through your mind. And all individuals suffer from this. We all have to be aware. Even people who tend to know and think outside of this, like an Eckhart Tolle, like myself, like others, who tend to think on this level of consciousness, still have to be conscious that we too can become preoccupied and burdened by the burden of time, or consumed by the burden of time. What we need to do in order to free ourselves from pain and to free others from pain and to not create it is for us to not create any more time, right? If we didn't create any more time, if we didn't create any more consciousness around that time, then we free ourselves and others from pain, period. So the question now lies, okay, well, how do I stop creating time? Because to some of you, and I can already see the side eyes, I can feel it through the camera. Some of you are like, well, that's impossible. How do I not create time? Time's going to create itself. As long as things go on and on and on, time is going to create itself. No, time's a social construct. Time's a human construct. Time's not going to create itself. Existence always is. Beingness always is. But that doesn't operate on any time. There's no time, no calendar, no date, no schedule we can put being on. Because being is going to exist forever and ever and ever, as it's existed forever and ever and ever, long before we were here, long after we're gone. It's just going to be what it is. And our schedule is not affecting being. Our schedule is not affecting anything in the real realm. So our time is insignificant in the grand scheme of things. So you don't have to create time. You can actually stop constructing time. One of the ways to do it is to realize that the present moment is all you have. There's nothing more than now. Hence the book, The Power of Now. There's nothing more than the now. Everything, even your thoughts, are occurring right now. Your feelings and emotions about what's occurring is now. And this is one of the concepts that I tend to help with my clients all the time. I tend to try to get them to focus and bring it back to an awareness of right now, right? Another thing you can do is you can make the now your primary focus. Instead of focusing on what happened or focusing on what could happen, focus on what is happening. I'm going to say it again. Instead of focusing on what happened or what will happen, focus on what is happening now, in the present tense. This makes life work for you. You're not working against life. You're not working against presence. You're not working against being. The very essence of who you are existing with it. You are working partnered with life. Observe how your mind begins to just kind of label all kinds of things, right? Say if you're going through a bad situation, your mind will say, but this is a horrible situation. This is terrible. I don't want to experience this. I don't want to feel it or think about what's happening now. It's bad. It's not good. It feels bad. I want to move on from it. I don't want to think about it. That's your mind labeling it. Noticing it. It's labeled. Your mind's labeling it and judging what's occurring as opposed to just allowing it to be. As opposed to just stop resisting what is and stop pushing back against it, you just allow what is. You guys know, if you've been watching my videos for some time, that I lost my mom last year. I couldn't hold on to what that moment was for me forever. I had to realize there's nothing I could do. And a lot of people who would talk to me would be like, you don't seem as though you're sad. No, I have emotional feelings. It's my mother. But I am able to also recognize there's nothing I can do. And so to sit there and to hold on to that and allow it to drag me through is a resistance of what is. And so I had to accept what is. And my spiritual belief says my mother's spirit, the essence of who she was, never went anywhere. It's with me everywhere. So there is a comfort in knowing that my mom is still connecting with me. My mom is still around me. Now her strength and her love for me is even more stronger than it was when she was physically here, because she's not giving it to me through a physical presence. She's giving it to me through the essence of all that is. God, spirit, the universe. And so I feel it even more stronger now. So I'm not fearful or worrisome or upset about what I can't change, and I accept what is. And so this gave me peace within. This gave me strength within. Because what happens is you get the ability to free yourself when you're no longer attaching yourself to those things. The Buddhists love to talk about attachment. They love to say it is attachment that creates all of the issues that we have. And that is a very real statement, that if we can stop attaching ourselves to our beliefs, to our thoughts, to our religions, to our social constructs, to our races, to our genders, to our political affiliations or whatever, we could just detach ourselves from those things, then the stresses that come behind those things we wouldn't experience, and you would actually get true peace. So you are able to see it and then take action. Accept, then act, according to Eckhart Tolle. Accept it as if you had chosen what's happening. Now, I know that's complex. That's deep for a lot of you, right? That you got to accept what is, good, bad, indifferent, as though it was your choice. How about that? That's Eckhart Tolle. That's deep, right? So this bad situation that I'm labeling bad in my mind that is happening to me, I chose it. Is that what you're saying? Yes. Accept it as though you have. Work with it, not against it. Don't resist it, accept it. Make it a friend and an ally, not your enemy. That brings you peace. So even with my mom's death, I couldn't resist it. I don't resist it. I accept it. I've made peace with it. It is my ally now. It is my friend. I accept it as though I had chosen it. Because what happens is, and Eckhart Tolle goes into this further into this chapter, is we dive into deeper things, right? And it becomes to be a part of this thing that Eckhart Tolle called the pain body. And with my clients who dealt with trauma, I really, really, really take pieces of this into my work that I do with them, into my program, to help them to understand what's occurring. So this was very influential part in the program that I developed to help my clients. The pain body loves pain. And as long as you are unable to access the power of now, every emotional pain that you feel, everything that you experience, all of the stuff that you have will leave a residue in your life, in you. And what's going to happen is that new stuff that you're going through, that new pain, that new trauma, that new issue, is just going to connect with old stuff, because they're going to be buddy-buddy. They're going to work together, and they're going to grow stronger, and they're going to live with each other, and that's going to remain in your mind and in your body. And there are physical manifestations, mental, emotional, outward manifestations of the pain body. Absolutely. And we'll get more into that in the weeks to come. But this can be conscious pain suffered, things that you are actually experiencing, and even unconscious things that you experience from society as a child and growing up from being a child. So we all have access to pain bodies. Oh, absolutely. Society has a pain body. Y'all see that. Y'all are experiencing that. Y'all are witnessing this before your eyes. That society has a pain body. It's everywhere. We are full. The accumulated pain is a negative energy. It occupies your body and your mind. And it can be, for most people, it's dormant 90% of the time, according to Eckhart Tolle. 90% of the time, it lies dormant. Nothing. It's just there. But the deeply unhappy person, you see it more often than you do. And it can be 100% of the time. You know somebody who lives from that pain body or in that pain body. You know somebody like this. They're never happy. They're always uneasy. They always want to move. They're always depressed, or they're sad, or they're angry, or they're a victim. Some people live entirely through this pain body. And then some of us, it gets triggered through certain situations. Relationships, loss, something, it brings it up out of us. It lies dormant, but then there's something that brings it up out of us. Anything can trigger the pain body. We all have this within us. And so it is important to know, and Eckhart Tolle points this out quite clearly, it is important to know that the pain body doesn't always manifest itself. Sometimes it's not a deep manifestation. Sometimes it's not a troublesome manifestation, like a whining child acting out of a pain body, according to Eckhart Tolle. That can be something that can be coddled through affection and through love. That's a light pain body, a baby. But what about somebody who's destructive? What about somebody who is making choices that are negative? What if somebody who's destroying things for themselves and for other people and having outward expressions? That is a pain body that is toxic to themselves and to other people. But here's the thing. We can spend all day long pointing out the pain bodies in other people. In fact, that's very easy. But the complicated thing and the most important work is pointing out the pain body within yourself. How am I acting out of that? Are there any signs of unhappiness, irritation, anger, hatred, desire to hurt other people, desire to hurt myself, rage, depression that I might be having? That is part of the pain body that I have within me. You have to be able to catch that pain body from the moment that it awakens within you. That is very, very important. And Eckhart Tolle points it out, but you have to observe it. This is why the beginning of the foundational discussion in this discussion was having was to be able to pay attention and observe your mind. To be able to pay attention and observe your emotions so that you can acknowledge and be aware of pain bodies that you might be having from the emotions that can trigger them. The pain body wants to survive, just like any other entity that is in existence, from microorganisms all the way to big, massive organisms. They all want to survive. And so what happens is, in order for it to survive, you can't be aware of it. See, the pain body is like what we say in the hood, roaches when you turn the light on. When you turn the light on, the roaches run. They run. When you flick that light on, the roaches get the hell up out of there real quick because you've exposed them. And the pain bodies are just like that. When you flick the light on, them things run because they don't like light. They don't like you to pay attention to them. They live through the unconsciousness, and it feeds through this unconsciousness on anything that is life energy. So negative news, hate, and vengeance, and violence, and even illness, sickness, can feed the pain body. You ever notice how you be so glued to the negativity of the news, or glued to, I mentioned something on Instagram where I said I don't like to watch fighting videos of black people fighting, because that is a pain body good thing. It loves the pain body. The pain body loves that. It feeds into that. It loves that. Pain can only feed into pain. You cannot bring joy and peace and abundance and clarity and expect it to feed your pain. No, that's going to expose and even sometimes kill the pain body. But the negativity, and there's so much of it around, you guys know. You guys know. It feeds, it's fueled from this negativity. The pain body, according to Eckhart Tolle, wants more pain. And so what happens is one of two things. One, you become the perpetrator of pain, doing harmful things to people, doing harmful things to yourself, being a toxic person, being a person who is just ruining people's lives or intentionally trying to ruin people's lives, or you become a victim. And I know someone's like, victim? How is that? Isn't that the other side of that? No. Because victims want people to feel sorry for them for bad stuff. This happened to me, feel sorry for me. I'm going through this, feel sorry for me. A victim loves pain. And unconsciously, it's an unconscious thing. That's the whole point. This is unconscious, because most people will not say, oh, I don't want pain. They're like, I do not want pain. That is not for me. I do not like drama. I do not like any of that. I'm a drama-free person, so trust me, I do not like pain. But guess what? According to Eckhart Tolle, if you look closely to yourself and within yourself, you will find that your thinking and your behavior are designed to keep pain going for you, for yourself and for others. Your way of thinking, your way of talking, your way of acting, the things that you are doing, the situations that you're putting yourself in, the conversations that you're having, the things you're watching on TV, the music that you're listening to, the people that you're engaging with are going to bring the pain that your pain body is addicted to. So nobody consciously wants to expect pain. So it's unconscious. It's the roaches in the dark when you turn the light on. The pain body does not like consciousness. The pain body does not like light. It prefers to remain anonymous. It prefers to be in the background so that you're unaware. But when you start to actually pay attention to yourself, like you would probably pay attention to somebody else, possibly even more, then you start to realize the pain body and work within you. and where you need to start to unravel that stuff. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I love it, right? Because it's clarity. There's clarity here. Clarity. I love it, right? We talked about today acknowledging your emotions, right? We talked about today not being preoccupied and identified with your mind and time. We talked about seeing the present as the only moment that exists, but also recognizing that we all have a pain body within us that fuels itself, that feeds itself, that eats off of like energy, pain. And it either manifests itself in light waves, or it can be aggressive and it manifests itself 100% of the time very strongly. But it's an unconscious thing that you have to pay attention to, as we had in the foundation, to pay attention to your mind and observe your emotions and you observe your mind so that you're aware and can catch this before it goes too far. See, my example for myself is that because how I was feeling, the energy that I was having, because I'm so spiritually connected and aware of myself, I'm not even putting myself here to where I'm just this om, nam yo harangue, whatever. I'm this high sage. But I am spiritually connected and aware of myself. This vessel, that when it is out of alignment with being, I have to say, stop, 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 stop. Do something to go back home. And by home, I mean connected to spirit, connected to being, connected to God, connected to that universal energy, connected to the universe. Go back home. Because you are so far gone up the road to nowhere that you are bound to get into some kind of trouble. So go back home. So I'm spiritually connected to self. Living for you is living for God, living for yourself, living for others, but definitely understanding yourself. And so that's what we're talking about here. That is the power of now. This is where we're going with this. I hope that you're getting this. And I hope that you're reading the book and you're in chapter 2 and you're following with it and you're getting the same ahas and bright moments and moments of insights that are going to help you to live the best present tense life that you can have in the now, right here, right now, in this moment. Remember, I love you guys. I continue to come here because I love you guys. I do this out of sheer just desire to help more people to grow. So continue to like the videos, comment on the videos, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Follow us on the social media. It's here. Instagram, Dr. Larry Smith. Facebook, Dr. Larry Smith. Go to www.livingforyou.com so that if you need some services or if you just want to get more information. I look forward to working with you. I look forward to talking to you, seeing you next time. And as I always say, I will see you in the next video.